To all the peeps close to me and dear to me, the ones that's been there for my whole life, the ones that came later in my life, yeah. I appreciate all the blessings God has given me, and I want to repay it to you like this. Clap your hands. Everybody clap your hands. Introducing. This is the joint.
Alrighty. Yes, good morning to those of you in the EU, and good night, or it's the middle of the night on the East Coast and in the USA. So those of you that are still up, I guess some of y'all will catch this. And those of you that catch it later, please do. Today, yesterday, I came across an excellent video by the Defiant Lawyers, where he breaks down something. Corbin, by the way, what's the brother's name again? Let me make sure I get this right. Augustus Corbett. He broke down how Trump is attempting to pimp black people. Yes, black people. Now, we've often heard a lot about the Democratic Party, particularly from maybe a segment of the black men in the U.S. Just a segment. But it's there. It's enough. I mean, to where they have concerns, and often the concerns seem to be, I don't know, maybe not that. Maybe the concerns are based on the lack of awareness and the perception, and some of the realities. I won't overlook any of the realities, but Augustus, he really did an excellent live yesterday where he breaks down some of these issues and some of the confusion that you might hear out there. And so I want to play a little bit of his breakdown, and because it's excellent. It is excellent, and folks need to hear it. Now, first of all, I'm going to put the link in the chat, so anyone that wants to hear it and share it later, please do that. But this is one of the best breakdowns that I've heard that addresses some of the concerns that we've been hearing out there. Not only and some of the false ideas being thrown around about the Democratic Party and also the Republican Party, particularly Biden, Obama, and then Trump. This MAGA element that seems to always miss everything that any Democrat has done while they're in office. Key things like save the economy, save you from COVID. It's so many other things. You would think people wouldn't forget those things, but with media today, it's almost like those that, we do have a lot of Russian trolls. Russian troll farms are out there, and they have been doing damage for a few years just because, social media, there's a thing about freedom of speech that the United States Constitution respects, right? Let's hope we don't lose that. But so you still see a lot of this false information kind of float around. But let Augustus break down to you how Trump talks to black folks like he's a pimp. So here we go. Let's check it out, y'all.
Say Trump is trying to pimp the black community. Well, he's acting like a classic pimp. I mean, just like a pimp. He's trying to pimp us. And some blacks, he is pimping. He is pimping those conservatives.
Mm-hmm.
He's literally pimping them. And what he wants to do is pimp the entire black community. And we say, nah, we're not going to get pimped. But why do I say he's trying to pimp us? Well, there's something that he says every time he's talking to black people. that is just classic pimping. Let me show you what I mean. Watch this.
I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln.
That's classic pimping. That's classic pimping. Because what he's saying is, I'm your daddy. I made you. I'm the one who caused you to be who you are. Since Abraham Lincoln, ain't nobody done for you what I done for you. I'm your daddy. You owe me. Get out here in these streets and go vote for me. Because I'm your daddy. You look to me. You look to me. I am your pimp. I'm your daddy. I've done more for you than anybody since Abraham Lincoln. And it's all a lie, but it's mind games. And he knows that there are vulnerable black people out there who will believe what he says and repeat what he says. There are black people out there who, for some reason, can't see that he's trying to pimp us. And so
Now, if you disagree, I want you out there, people that hear this message, and if you don't catch the live, then leave your message in the comment section. I want you to point out where this man is wrong if you are so informed about these issues. Listen to what he's about to say.
some he is pimping, literally pimping them, literally pimping them with these lies that he's done more for the black community since Abraham Lincoln. What kind of crap is that? Excuse my language. It really irks me. That irks me more than anything I have heard anyone say about African American people.
He missed the entire civil rights era. Trump missed the entire civil rights era. Abraham Lincoln wasn't around in the civil rights era. Trump's family was not even in America during the War of Independence or the Civil War, for that matter. Abraham Lincoln, since he wants to talk about Abraham Lincoln. But let's let the brother continue.
I've done more for you. I've done more for you. Me, I'm your daddy. I'm your pimp daddy. I'm your Mac daddy. You owe me. You don't owe Kamala Harris. She just turned black. How you gonna go off and try to support her? She just turned black.
And check this out. He breaks down how they're actually attempting to stop any type of reparations for African Americans. Yes, MAGA. Yes, they are. Now, I don't want to stop the brother, but check this out. This is amazing.
She ain't really black. I'm your daddy, black people.
Hey, Andre.
And then he gets into this garbage about HBCUs when he did not provide any funding for HBCUs. Whatever little funding, the $250 million that he brags about, he literally took that out of the budget, and it had to be replaced by Alma Adams of North Carolina, my home state. In fact, she represents where I went to college, A&T in Greensboro. That's a proven fact. And on top of that, regarding HBCUs, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris provided billions of dollars for HBCUs. Billions. Not a measly $250 million.
Now, those black MAGA people, Trump supporters, prove how this man is wrong. Prove how Augustus is wrong. Is he wrong or is he right? Let me know in the comment section.
That Trump took out of the budget and yet continue to tell that lie. Mm-hmm. And then he talks about opportunity zones. All you got to do is put opportunity zones in Google. Just Google it. And you will find reports that it didn't work for black people.
Facts.
Rich whites benefited from that. Rich. Find reports that it didn't work for black people. Rich whites benefited from that. Rich white construction companies benefited from opportunity zones, not the black business startups in the African American community. He's lying about that. Yet he just keeps saying it because he thinks that we don't have sense enough to do our own research.
And you know what? There is a segment of our population that doesn't. There's a segment of our population that Trump would be completely right about that does not bother to do the research themselves. And it's so critical right now because of all the disinformation spread by Russian bots collaborating with MAGA. It's so important for you right now to understand that you must research these things. Don't just listen, but here, prove what the man is saying wrong. What percentage of opportunity zones were utilized to a success by African Americans? What percentage of African Americans, or what percentage of the people that benefited from opportunity zones were even African American construction companies, real estate companies? That would be really nice to know. But you already heard him break through the fact that Trump did not do a damn thing for HBCUs. That's Biden and Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris went to a HBCU. She got an education from an HBCU, and she got something done about HBCUs in the billions of dollars, not measly millions.
And he talks about unemployment, black unemployment, that he had the lowest black unemployment since the world began. Again, he's lying. First of all, he received a very good economy from Obama. Just look it up. Just Google it. You'll see for yourself that the job unemployment was going down, 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 down. And he inherited that good economy from Obama and Biden. Yet he claims credit for it. Folks, do your research. He's trying to pimp us. Moreover, the unemployment rate was the lowest under the Biden-Harris administration. April 2023, it dropped to 4.3%. Do your research. Don't let him pimp you like that. I refuse to be pimped. I will not be pimped. And that's what he's trying to do. Again, he's saying to the African American community, I am your daddy. You owe me. You owe me. I made you. And just for the record, the president since Lincoln, who was most consequential in the African American community, is Lyndon Baines Johnson. When he signed into law the Civil Rights Act,
Yep.
the Voting Rights Act,
Yep.
Fair Housing Act,
Yep.
those things broke the back of Jim Crow.
Now, isn't it every black man's responsibility to know that? I mean, sure, it's every black person's responsibility to know that, but I'm talking about black men that seem to be out here supporting Trump and reciting verbatim Trump talking points. Shouldn't they know that? Shouldn't they know that Trump, he act like the civil rights era didn't even exist. He skipped right over it and went back to Lincoln, and he wasn't even in the damn country. His family wasn't even in the country when Lincoln was around, let alone the Civil War. And he got the nerve to skip over the civil rights bills that were passed that put an end to Jim Crow. He's got that nerve, and you will sit up here and let him do it to your face and then go out to the public and recite those damn lies? Listen to the brother here.
And of course, we also celebrate the election and re-election of Barack Obama. His election and re-election were also consequential. But in terms of passing legislation that really broke the back of Jim Crow, it is Lyndon Baines Johnson. That stuff that Trump talks about amounted to virtually nothing. Nothing. The First Step Act, he had to be forced into doing that.
And you know what, Andrea? You're exactly right. The billions that Biden and Harris got for the HBCUs were in the billions, and they were owed from the land grants since 1987. Did Trump do a goddamn thing about that? No. Instead, what he did was pimp. He pimped. He went out there and told a damn lie about he's been the best thing since Abraham Lincoln, and then he didn't do a damn thing about it. The billions were owed to HBCUs since 1987, and Trump gave some measly $200 million that it didn't even actually get to them. You see, and then when Biden and Harris got in office, what did they do? They got billions out to HBCUs. Come on. Come on, y'all got to know your history a little better than this. That's all I'm saying. It's nothing personal. Sure, we all want more political parties. There should be more than just two political parties. Wonderful. That's part of the struggle. But you got to work and be straight up about the information right now and the things that are happening right now with the two-party system. If you can't get it right with the two-party system, why the hell would you want one more party? You can't even handle the information. Let's go.
He didn't want to do that. And then you've heard me say many times, and then Bill Barr, his AG, worked against the First Step Act.
You hear that? So Trump went out there, talked about the First Step Act, and then he got his own Bill Barr to work against the implementation of that. Now, ain't that some devilish crap right there? And here's the thing. No, that's some pimping. That's some big pimping. And if you allow Trump to pimp you, you deserve what? What do you deserve if you allow Trump to pimp you?
That's when I smack the shit out you. I smack the shit out.
That's what you deserve.
And what did it do? It did some important things in terms of allowing inmates to have more phone time, more emails. And I don't take any of that for granted. I'm sure that is very important.
Right.
But it didn't deal with the structural issues of the criminal justice system that results in African Americans being disproportionately in prison, convicted, and incarcerated in the first place.
He didn't do a damn thing about the underlying issues that create the problem. Trump didn't do a damn thing about those. Those things still persist. You see, and every time you try to get something done, you got MAGA Republicans out there trying their very best to stop any change from occurring with the underlying issues, from preventing and hindering the underlying issues that put so many black men in jail in the first place. Okay. And when was that? What year was that? What year was that? That wasn't back when people complained about when these men go out on the internet and keep talking about Kamala Harris in San Francisco. That wasn't way back then. No, that was more recent. And what did they do about it? Nothing. They praised Trump for not doing a goddamn thing. They praised him. They act like that was some big, huge, huge thing.
And who would expect that of him when he wants to give police officers prosecutorial immunity? When he wants to use the National Guard.
Yeah, yo, check this out. That's true. Well, look, there were some that tried to stop it. Not only Democrats though, bro. But here's the thing. In regards to Trump saying that he did more, who's the one who signed the bill into legislation? Who signed that bill into legislation? The Civil Rights Act of 1964. Who signed it into legislation? Let's see here. Because I'm cool with that, but let me see here. Who signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964 into law? President Lyndon B. Johnson. President Lyndon B. Johnson. Right? And
the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson on July 2nd, 1964. This landmark legislation aimed to end segregation in public places and banned employment discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. It is considered one of the most significant legislative achievements in the civil rights movement.
And what party was Lyndon B. Johnson a member of?
Lyndon B. Johnson belonged to the Democratic Party. He served as the 36th President of the United States from 1963 to 1969, following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Before becoming president, Johnson was a long-serving member of the U.S. Senate, where he also represented the Democratic Party.
And who wanted to sign it in? The man who actually really took a bullet. That was Kennedy. He really took a bullet. A bullet didn't fly, a couple of inches or feet even by him. No, he got shot in the head. He was murked. His vice president had to sign it into action, But shout out to you, Fight Doctor. Shout out to you, bro. Let's see here. Hold on, we got another comment here. Let me see this. Who are you talking about? He tried to help the black community, and the Democrats fought him all the way on everything good Trump tried to do. But you're not being specific, brother or sister. You have to state specific things. Like you see our brother here, Fight Doctor, he did raise a good point when he said that, what did he say? He said Southern Democrats tried to block the Civil Rights Act in 1964. And I said, hey, there's also some Republicans that did too. But here's the thing. In the end, who signed it into legislation? And I pointed that out. We're talking facts here. We're talking facts anybody can look up. It's the Democratic elected president who did. It wasn't a Republican, just to be clear about that. And on top of it, the only reason why we're talking about this now is because Trump said that he's the person who did more for black people since Abraham Lincoln. Do you agree with that statement? You can't agree with that statement, because if you agree with that statement, you missed a whole lot of American history, brother, because Abraham Lincoln did not sign into law the Civil Rights Act of 1964. You see what I mean? But in any case, come with some specifics. We could talk about it. Let me see here. We have to keep it 100. The Democratic Party is the party of Jim Crow. The South, Lyndon B. Johnson signing the Civil Rights Act doesn't change this fact. Well, here's the thing. If you don't have a president that signs something into law, it don't matter who wrote it, who created the bill. You actually have to have a president that signs it or it won't come into law, right? And it wasn't Donald Trump that signed it. Not only that, in 2016, Donald Trump stood there in Detroit in a black church and promised a new era civil rights bill. And then after he got elected in 2016, he didn't even mention one damn thing about it after. But let's continue. Let's continue. Good points, though. Good points. And again, for me, I'm not saying that the Democratic Party is perfect at all. But let's talk about these things right now. Trump want to talk about 1776. He wasn't around. He wasn't around in 1810. His family wasn't even in the country. But yet he's claiming something where his family wasn't even around to do a damn thing about. You see what I mean? So let's continue. Let's hear the brother out though. Let's hear the brother out. Let's hear Corbin out again. Let's see here.
To shoot, including the army, even the army, to shoot blacks for protesting. He is a liar. He's a con man. He's trying to.
Listen, Bad Mojo. No, I don't. I don't really mind that you don't agree, but what I said is that please, everyone has the right to not agree. That's welcome. Dissent is welcome. I don't need anybody to agree. Otherwise, we won't have a real discussion. But if you don't state specifics, we also won't have a decent discussion, period. So you have to come with specifics, not opinion. You see what I'm saying? Trump came with some opinions. He said he did a whole lot. Well, what can you point out that he did specifically?
Pimp us. He knows that if he keeps saying things enough, that there will be black Americans, especially some black men, who will get pimped out like that.
Yeah, and brother, it is true. Our country was doing good when Trump was in office. But as the brother stated out here, the good was inherited by Obama already. Obama saved the economy already. The economy was so strong when Obama left office, you almost have to be a nincompoop to screw it up, essentially. And Trump damn near tried to, he damn near tried to. But look, these are politicians, and so we're gonna have some good ones on both sides, right? To some degree, right? But let's be clear about the facts when we talk about what did Trump do, what did Obama do, what did Biden do? Because see, Trump has a tendency to disavow anything. Do you know how many people? How can you disavow the civil rights bill and run for office? How can you disavow it and say that you've done more for black people since Abraham Lincoln? Is that a true statement or is that a false statement? That's all this is about. If it's a false statement, even if you support Trump, you can still say that was false. I mean, in fact, you obligated to, really.
Because they're not doing their reading. They're not doing their research. And before I go, I can hear some of you saying, Joe Biden pimped a lot of black people with the 1994 crime bill. You say that because you have not researched the 1994 crime bill. You've not researched it. You don't realize that it's really the Reagan administration's war on drugs that really, really opened the door to mass incarceration. That's really what did it. The 1994 crime bill was supported by blacks, and I was alive then. I remember 1994. I remember when crack hit the scene. I remember how devastating it was in our community. And the African-American community was saying to black Congress people, to Joe Biden, to everyone, get something done because crack is destroying our community. You're just getting that talking point from the GOP via pro-black imposters who have told you to vote the couch, and that has cost us dearly.
Now, check this out, Fight Doctor. If you're still there, going back to the Civil Rights Act, just to get this clear, here's the data. Here's what came back for the Civil Rights Act. You said that Democrats voted against it, right? That's what you said. That's not true, brother. So let's correct that. Here, let's be accurate. And it's okay though, because we've all heard a whole lot. I've heard that said so many times. It's really important right now, no matter what we believe, that we just go dig in and do the actual research and pull the evidence up. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Here's what it says about the voting, getting it through the Congress and getting it through the Senate. And then we already talked about who signed it into law. That was a Democrat. But here.
The Civil Rights Act of 1964 saw significant bipartisan support, although the levels of support differed between Northern and Southern members of both parties. Here's a breakdown of how the parties voted on the final passage of the bill. Senate vote: Democrats, 46 in favor, 21 opposed. Republicans, 27 in favor, 6 opposed. House vote: Democrats, 152 in favor, 96 opposed. Republicans, 138 in favor, 34 opposed. Analysis: Northern Democrats predominantly supported the bill. Southern Democrats, often referred to as Dixiecrats, largely opposed the bill, reflecting the segregationist views prevalent in the South at the time. Republicans, a majority in both the House and Senate, supported the bill, with particularly strong support from Northern Republicans. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a significant legislative achievement that required overcoming substantial opposition, particularly from Southern Democrats. The bipartisan effort, especially the support from Republicans, was crucial in passing the bill.
So we can't say, again, this was bipartisan legislation. So we can't just say that, it's just wrong to say Democrats fought against it. No, some Democrats and some Republicans fought against it. And there's a breakdown on why. It's regional. It has something to do with the North and the South. But here's the vote again, just for those that want to know. In fact, should I put this in the chat just for folks? Let's see here. Yeah, well, in any case, in the Senate, it was 46 Democrats in favor, 21 opposed. In the Senate, 27 Republicans and 6 opposed. In the House, where the laws are written, the Senate just makes sure that it's legal, what's written, but they have to do their job before it gets to the president's office to sign. Democrats, 152 in favor, 96 opposed. Republicans, 138 in favor, 34 opposed. So it's basically bipartisan legislation, But let's see here. Let's go. Let's continue now. Oh, my fault. I didn't put it back up. Yeah, I hear you, Fight Doctor. You did write this. You wrote Southern Democrats tried to block the Civil Rights Act, but that's not true, brother. That's not a true statement, because here's the thing. The truth is that some Republicans and some Democrats tried to block it. More Democrats, look at this. More Democrats were in favor than Republicans in the Senate and in the House. So you see, the statement could be misleading, is what I'm saying, and especially right now, it's important for people to know that, because it's so much disinformation. And see, what disinformation does, we all have to be opposed to it. When it doesn't fit with the facts and gives a false view of what actually occurred. We don't want that. We don't need that. We can't use that. We can't use it. But let me pull the brother back up here, Corbin, again. Let's see here. Because we missed some of this.
When he wants to give police officers the First Step Act, he had to be forced into doing that. He didn't want to do that. And then you've heard me say many times, and then Bill Barr, his AG, worked against the First Step Act. And what did it do? It did some important things in terms of allowing inmates to have more phone time, more emails. And I don't take any of that for granted. I'm sure that is very important. But it didn't deal with the structural issues of the criminal justice system that results in African Americans being disproportionately in prison, convicted, and incarcerated in the first place.
Right. And let me see here. I've never seen Joe Biden do any good except for throw money at people. Well, brother, I don't think it's a matter of seeing. I think you got to really look at the legislation and focus on the legislation. I don't think you're going to see, because he's not the one writing the legislation. Again, brother, the legislation gets written in Congress. It gets passed to the Senate if it's lucky enough to pass. And then the Senate reviews it and makes sure that it's legal before it goes on the president's desk to sign. So I don't really know what you mean when you say you haven't seen, you've never seen Biden do anything good except for throw money at people. I mean, if that's all you think Biden did, then okay. I mean, there's a lot of people that would say that's basically all Trump did, was throw some money out there, and people, I got to check. I got to check when Trump was in office, and I got to check when Biden was in office. Biden didn't stop the COVID funding. He didn't stop that. You see, but let's see here. Let's get down to it. Let's see. Andrea says the bottom fell out for our country in 2008 when George Bush was in office, and we were told that some corporations were too big to fail. When Obama became president, he had to handle all that. Yeah, because there was those big scandals. The bottom fell out. I forget the name of the companies, but there was the stock market. A few of the companies were doing insider trading and things like this. I, these are, I hate to do this, but it's okay. But here, let me read this. Democrats have been running this country fall apart for the past 3 years, and I think it's okay. Like I said, hey, sign up for an independent if you want. You're going to have to vote this time around. If you want a president to win, it's not going to be an independent one right now. So you're going to need to choose between Trump and Harris. But you know, I don't agree with the statement. Obviously, the country's not falling apart. The country is going through times, but it's not the worst times. There's not soup kitchens everywhere. The U.S. has been through worse times. And I think it's an ongoing process. But again, do you want to? Do you trust the person that advises you during COVID that killed so many people? His advice was inject some Clorox. I mean, is that what you think is good leadership? I don't know. I don't. I wouldn't say so.
And who would expect that of him when he wants to give police officers prosecutorial immunity?
Yo, brother, look. Let me do one thing, just because it says here. Bap Mojo says, by what time Obama left office, I thought my family was going to starve. But see, brother, your comments, you're not. You kind of like. See, I admit I got a Trump check and I got a Biden check. See, so I'm willing to admit we already talked about the fact that the first rights act, right? Is that what it's called? About the incarceration level and there being persons, black people kept in prison longer than a typical white person or another person would be kept in. We already acknowledged that. That was a great thing. But again, as our brother here stated, he was forced into it. You see what I mean? Like he was forced into it. Now, do you want to look and see who voted on that? Should we do that for you, brother? But you can't just imagine that things were so hard every time there was a Democrat. No, the economy was in great shape when when Trump took it over from Obama. It was in bad shape when Obama took it over from Bush. Um, when Trump was in office, gun violence went up sharply. Now, is gun violence good? Do you think gun violence is good? I mean, I'm just saying we gotta no, I got a check from Biden. I don't know why you didn't get a check, but if you don't pay your tax, if you don't file your taxes, that would be the only reason why. And I think under Biden, I'm pretty sure, because I also researched this myself, because I wanted to make sure I got that second check, that third check, second or third check, when Biden was in office. And I believe what it was is that you had to be up, you couldn't be any more than 2 years behind on your taxes, your income taxes. But in any case, now let me just stop it, because let me bring this back, because he talked about the First Rights Act, and I think it's important that we review.
He didn't want to do that. Passing legislation that really broke the back of Jim Crow, it is Lyndon Baines Johnson. That stuff that Trump talks about amounted to virtually nothing. Nothing. The First Step Act, he had to be forced into doing that.
All right, so let's pivot over to the first, what do you call it here? The first, hold on, let me just hear that one more time, because I said it wrong. There we go. First Step Act. Okay. I'm going to ask the same question here. First Step Act. Here we go. First Step Act. Here we go. Now, just so we see, because we having a problem acknowledging truth. And that's what this is about. Truth over lies. Truth over accuracy over inaccuracy. Detail over vagueness. So let's get into it. And again, if you disagree, you can disagree.
The First Step Act, a significant criminal justice reform bill, was signed into law by President Donald Trump on December 21st, 2018. The bill received broad bipartisan support in both the House of Representatives and the Senate. Senate vote: Republicans, 38 in favor, 12 opposed. Democrats, 43 in favor, 0 opposed. Independents, 2 in favor, 0 opposed. The final Senate vote was 87-12 in favor of the bill. House vote: 162 in favor, 36 opposed. Democrats, 171 in favor, 2 opposed. The final House vote was 358-36 in favor of the bill. Analysis: while a majority supported the bill, there was some opposition within the party. Strongly supported the bill, with overwhelming majorities in both chambers voting in favor. The First Step Act aimed to address various aspects of the criminal justice system, including sentencing reform, prison reform, and programs to reduce recidivism, and was notable for its bipartisan backing.
So, the facts of the matter here with the First Step Act, with prison reform, which was to get, people out of jail that had been sitting there for crimes that, normally you wouldn't be sitting there for because of the racial inequalities in the justice system. The vote, when you want to talk about who, and I'm actually going to look at who even signed it, because our good brother, Augustus Corbett, he said Trump was forced into that. So let's read, let's see here. How many voted for it in the Senate? 38 Republicans were in favor, 12 opposed. 43 Democrats were in favor, 0 opposed. There was 0 opposition from Democrats. There were 2 independents in favor and 0 opposed. Now, the House, 162 Republicans were in favor and 36 opposed. Damn. Democrats, 171 were in favor and 2 opposed. So let's be completely honest about this. It's Democrats that got that bill passed. Unequivocally. And I believe that's what he means by he was forced to. Because as you can see here, there's more opposition in the Senate and in the House from Republicans on the First Step Act than there is from Democrats. There's no opposition from Democrats in the House. No, there was 2 in the House, only 2 out of 173. There was 2 that opposed it in the House. In the Senate, there was no Democrats that opposed it. So again, we gotta stick to the facts, and because the facts are deep and there's many facts, but we got to get the facts straight so we can be fair to our countrymen, to our people, the ones that we love and the ones that we say that we care about. Now, of course, Bill Clinton, Fight Doctor brought up a good point. Let's go back here. Fight Doctor said something about Bill Clinton here. Oh, wait a second. Did I miss it? Here we go. What about Bill Clinton and the 3 strikes? Right. Now, this is why the First Step Act had to be passed. It had to be written and it had to be passed, right? Because Democrats not only did Democrats, as a matter of fact, let's do that. Let's do the 3 Strikes Act so we can really keep it clear. Now, Clinton signed it into office, but it has to get to his desk, right? So let's take a look at that. 3 strikes, right? Here we go. Boom. 3 strikes. Under the Clinton. So we see here, this is an interesting split. Now, in the House of Representatives, right? And this is where it gets written. 188 Democrats were in favor of the 3 Strikes Act. 64 were opposed, right? 135 Republicans were in favor of it and 46 opposed, right? And this, we can all agree that it wasn't a good bill. In fact, that it was a bad bill and disproportionately put Black men at risk. Yes, and unjustly, right? Because we have to admit there is systemic racism, and systemic means it's throughout the system, right? Including the criminal justice system. Now, in the Senate vote, it was 54 in favor, 2 opposed. Republicans 25 in favor, 8 opposed it. Okay. But let me go back to the first one, First Step Act. Who wrote the First Step Act? And which party did they belong to? Oh, I'm sorry. Y'all couldn't hear that. Sorry about that. Let me play that one more time. I forgot to put that up on the
The
screen.
First
Here we
Step
go.
Act was a bipartisan effort, and several key legislators from both parties played significant roles in crafting and advancing the bill. Key authors and supporters. One, Senator Chuck Grassley, a leading Republican advocate for the bill. Grassley was instrumental in moving the legislation through the Senate Judiciary Committee. Two, Senator Dick Durbin, DIL, a Democratic co-sponsor. Durbin worked closely with Grassley and other legislators to ensure the bill included key criminal justice reforms. Three, Representative Hakeem Jeffries, a primary sponsor in the House. Jeffries was a strong proponent of the bill's reforms and worked to gather support among Democrats. Four, Representative Doug Collins, a Republican co-sponsor in the House. Collins was essential in building bipartisan support for the legislation. Party affiliation, Chuck Grassley and Doug Collins. Democrat, Dick Durbin and Hakeem Jeffries. The First Step Act's bipartisan nature was crucial to its passage, demonstrating cooperation across party lines to address criminal justice reform. The bill received support from a wide range of legislators, advocacy groups, and the Trump administration.
There you go. Yeah, so there we have it. That's bipartisan legislation. And actually I think people need to ask more questions. Like, I mean, I'm not going to look all this up, but again, what I'm doing this for myself, number one, and I'm doing this for people that respect the fact that I'm doing this. People that I'm doing this research just openly, right? Now, people that don't respect it, I'm not doing it for you. The first person I have responsibility for is myself. So I'm doing it for myself and those that, respect the research. Period. How you vote on it is up to you. How you make your decisions based on it, that's is really entirely up to every individual. Hey, what's up? Know yourself. Check this out. Now let's go back to the brother. I would really like to even know, did Kamala Harris vote for it? Was she in office? Did Kamala Harris vote for the First Act? Uh, First Step Act. I'm sorry, First Step Act. Oh, she wasn't a Oh, she was actually absent from the Senate vote on the bill, which aimed to reform various. Okay, so she didn't sign. She didn't vote on this bill. That's interesting, though. Here,
Kamala Harris, who was a U.S. Senator from California at the time, did not vote for the First Step Act. She was absent from the Senate vote on the bill. The First Step Act, which aimed to reform various aspects of the criminal justice system, was passed with broad bipartisan support, but Harris was not present for the final vote on December 18, 2018.
First Step Act. Okay, let's hear this out.
For the First Step Act, Senate total senators 100, absent 0. All 100 senators participated in the final vote on December 18, 2018. House of Representatives, total representatives 435, absent 40. Out of 435 members, 40 were absent during the final vote on December 20th, 2018.
But
both the Senate and House votes on the First Step Act had a high level of participation, reflecting the strong bipartisan support for the legislation.
Now, let me see here. Maybe she must have still been in the Senate at that time. Vote. Participate in the final vote for the First Step Act on December 18, 2000. Okay, maybe it went through more than one session in the Senate. Let's see here. Okay, she participated. All right, here we go. She did participate in the Senate votes for the Senate vote for the First Step Act on December 18th. She voted in favor of the bill. Okay, because that's funny because just before that it said that she didn't, right? But maybe it's how I worded it. You see here? Maybe it's how I worded it. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so this must have been she. Maybe it went through more than one round in the Senate. Yeah, that it's possible. Sometimes that happens. Maybe the president doesn't sign it, or they don't expect it. It's all kinds of things. But in any case, she was a part of it on on the final vote. So okay, just to clear that up because I know I was also surprised. Um, Now let's see here. Let's continue. Let's go back to our brother here and continue to hear what he had to say here.
He had to be forced. That stuff that Trump talks about amounted to virtually nothing. Nothing. The First Step Act, he had to be forced into doing that. He didn't want to do that. And then you've heard me say many times, and then Bill Barr, his AG, worked against the First Step Act. And what did it do?
All right. So let's stop it right there. Now let's see here. Let's go back. In what ways did Bill Barr work against the implementation of the First Step Act? Now, this is Trump's appointee to the Department of Justice. So you have the First Step Act signed into law by Trump, but then his Department of Justice appointee, the head. Let's hear how he worked against it.
William Barr, who served as U.S. Attorney General under President Donald Trump, was notably critical of some aspects of the implementation of the First Step Act. Here are some ways in which Barr's actions were seen as working against or complicating the implementation of the act. 1. Opposition to certain provisions. Barr expressed concerns about specific provisions of the First Step Act, particularly those related to the release of prisoners and changes in sentencing guidelines. He argued that some of the provisions could potentially allow dangerous individuals to be released earlier than intended. 2. Policy and interpretation disputes. Under Barr's leadership, the Justice Department took a cautious approach to the implementation of the act, particularly regarding its retroactive provisions. The department's interpretations and guidance sometimes led to delays and uncertainty in how the law was applied. 3. Public criticism. Barr publicly criticized elements of the First Step Act, arguing that they could lead to negative consequences for public safety. His critical stance created a contentious atmosphere around the law, which could affect its broader acceptance and implementation. 4. Influence on enforcement. As Attorney General, Barr had significant influence over how the First Step Act was enforced and implemented. His critical stance and the actions taken by the Justice Department under his leadership could have influenced how aggressively or effectively the act was put into practice. While Barr's criticisms were aimed at specific aspects of the act rather than its overall goals, his position and public comments were seen as obstacles to fully realizing the intended reforms of the First Step Act.
All right, and let me see here. We got a messenger. Let's see here. The messenger, Jafar. I've made up my mind. I'm done voting. I can't take the false hope and tricking myself that my vote will change. Well, brother, I mean, what I can say is don't complain about who becomes the president. Don't complain about who becomes any elected official, and don't complain about what's done with your tax dollars. That's basically all I can say about that, And you're welcome to not complain about it, but the best way to complain, or the only real way to complain, is through a vote. So if you want to vote for Trump, go ahead and vote for him. But I'm just I'm not going to go. I'm not convinced. I don't think Trump has done enough work to convince me. And on top of that, I find him to be a serious liar and manipulator. He doesn't tell the truth when he makes mistakes. He's incredibly insulting. But let me deal with this other comment here. And again, we're not here. Look at this, man. Hey, Bad Mojo, come on, man. Let's try to narrow it down now. I only went back to Obama because Trump inherited the economy of Obama, right? So, but I'll read this anyway. Obama killed part of the stock market that has to do with metal recycling. I own. And can you state the bill, brother? Again, I told you have to be specific so we can get to the bottom of that, so we can find out if that's true or not. Simply stating it doesn't make it true, brother. We need to do the research. And that's one of the things that our brother here, Augustus Corbett, is criticizing a segment of the black male population for not doing the research. It's not good enough to recite things that you heard, right? And if we're going to learn, we need to know the specifics. We need to know if it's true or false. Now, if we have a bill's name, a name of a bill, we can easily find out if your statement is true or false. If you don't name a bill, then what can we do about it, brother? There's really nothing we can do. In fact, I couldn't even join your side because it's not convincing enough. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, Well, look, black man, Jafari, I think it's my right to complain if my human rights are not met. I mean, well, listen, brother, I don't know if you're aware of this, but your human rights are implemented through civil rights. They're not just given without the civil rights. That means they have to be voted into law and signed by a president. So you have to have a representative that takes your point of view in the Congress. You have to have a representative that takes your point of view in the Senate, and you have to have a president that takes your point of view and signs it into law. And if you don't vote for one of those three or all of those three, guess what happens, brother? You can't complain about how your tax dollars are being spent. Not on the federal level. You can still vote on the state level, and there you go. That's what I'm saying. So it's just my advice. My advice would be vote. That's the best way to complain. I'm not saying don't verbally express opposition. I'm saying verbally expressing opposition while forfeiting your vote would not be the wisest choice in my view. That's all I'm saying. And I'm saying that because yes, you're still a taxpayer, and you pay federal taxes and you pay state taxes. And if you don't vote on the federal level, then where is the complaint at about what happens to your federal dollars? And when we're talking about who the president is going to be, who the Congress rep is going to be, who the Senate rep is going to be, we're talking about your federal dollars. We're not talking about your state dollars anymore. You see? So let me just get back to this now. But welcome, Jafar. Thanks for the comment also, and also you, Bad Mojo. Thanks for your comments too. I mean, I hope you don't take my tone as hateful or anything. No, I'm just energized. I'm energized, and I'm also concerned. I'm concerned. I want my folks to engage, and I want you to prove me wrong. I want you to show me where I'm wrong at, because so far we've been uncovering some things, and it ain't personal, because you can see me and Fight Doctor. We actually Me and Fight Doctor, we agree on mostly 90% of the things, but it's election time. And sometimes election time, we got to chop it up and see where it fits. And you can see he's willing to fact check what I come up with. I'm willing to fact check what he comes up with, and we find out and we learn new things that way. And it could be a very important time to do that. And that's the only reason why I'm willing to do this. That's what I want to do. I want to fact check to improve my understanding so I can make sure that my stance is a strong one. And I'm wishing that for my brothers and sisters also in return, and my fellow Americans in general, just everybody. We all affect each other. So it's hella important right now that we take that up. But let's see here. Let's continue.
It did some important things in terms of allowing inmates to have more phone time, more emails. And I don't take any of that for granted. I'm sure that is very important. But it didn't deal with the structural issues of the criminal justice system that results in African Americans being disproportionately in prison, convicted, and incarcerated in the first place. And who would expect that of him when he wants to give police officers prosecutorial immunity? When he wants to use the National Guard to shoot, including the Army, even the Army, to shoot blacks for protesting. He is a liar. He's a con man. He's trying to pimp us. He knows that if he keeps saying things enough, that there will be black Americans, especially some black men, who will get pimped out like that because they're not doing their reading. They're not doing their research. And before I go, I can hear some of you saying, Joe Biden pimped a lot of black people with the 1994 crime bill. You say that because you have not researched the 1994 crime bill. You've not researched it. You don't realize that it's really the Reagan administration's war on drugs that really opened the door to mass incarceration. That's really what did it. The 1994 crime bill was supported by blacks, and I was alive then. I remember 1994. I remember when crack hit the scene. I remember how devastating it was in our community. And the African American community was saying to black Congress people, to Joe Biden, to everyone, get something done because crack is destroying our community. You're just getting that talking point from the GOP via pro-black imposters.
Yeah, what he's saying is true. I mean, this was, the three, I believe the three strikes, and then and also before that, the crime bill that was under the Reagan administration. I mean, the country was facing epidemic, just like we face an epidemic right now. And cocaine doesn't come from the United States, but look, under the Reagan administration, we do have Ollie North and the CIA, right? Top secret operations smuggling cocaine into the United States during this period. You see? So we have to remember these things. That gives it context, because the context gives you a clearer idea of what's going on, who's firmly to blame. Is it a broad misconception across the entire society? Or is it one particular group? You see, and when it comes to those bills, we've already looked into them. It seems to be like there's broad consensus on it. Somewhat, it's bipartisan legislation, essentially, on both of those. So, yeah. And then we got, so let's just move on. Let's move on with that.
Who have told you to vote the couch, and that has cost us dearly. You vote in the couch. You've basically voted in the couch. You've basically have undermined any chance of getting the thing that you say matters most to you, and that's reparations. Because when you voted the couch in 2016, black man, you allowed Donald Trump, this pimp wannabe, to put right-wing racist judges on the federal bench where reparation cases would go in the first place. And ultimately, you allowed him to put 3 right-wing conservative justices on SCOTUS.
Now, I think that's a really poignant point, because a lot of us don't understand how this works. You see, with something like reparations, right, that is not necessarily just a bill or voting thing. That's also going to be challenged in the Supreme Court. And it does matter what appointees are there if they're in support of it, right? It matters. Now, the United Nations has already said to the United States that they owe Black Americans reparations. That's what the United Nations has said. And I believe it's even supported by a broad number of nations, that statement that they issued. Now, it should be bipartisan support from both sides of the aisle. And it should also be in the Supreme Court. It should be a no-brainer. It should be a no-brainer. But if you're going to put MAGA in the Supreme Court, what do you think they're going to do with reparations? Why doesn't Donald Trump run on reparations? That would be something big, like Abraham Lincoln or Lyndon B. Johnson, wouldn't it? That would be huge, right? That would deal with some of the systemic issues that put Black men in jail in the first place. I mean, why do Black men, and it's not just Black men, but historically, generationally, what involves us in crime most is economics. It's the fact that we have been robbed, that we have been denied reparations, that we have been put on hold while others were allowed to succeed through Jim Crow. We were put on hold. You see, we were put on hold by slavery. You see, we weren't allowed to do any damn thing for ourselves, primarily, right? And so this should be a bipartisan thing, reparations. But so let's ask, what Supreme Court justice supports reparations? I mean, do we need to ask Clarence Thomas? I'm pretty sure the answer would be no. The UN only have say on weak nations. Well, let me ask you something. Are you satisfied with the conversation regarding reparations right now? Because if there's no conversation regarding reparations on both sides of the aisle, right? Or at least in a majority that supports it in the Senate and in the Congress, how does it get to the president? How does it get to the Supreme Court? How does it get even to any of the, it doesn't, because guess what? If you're not demanding it, if we're not wanting it, now who of the black men that are against Kamala Harris are demanding that Trump talk about reparations? Anybody demanding it? But we are demanding Democrats do. Let's look at some of the let's see who wrote a reparations bill. Let's look at that. Who sponsored the latest reparations bill in Congress? It hasn't been passed, but it's still in it. It's still being worked on. So they have to work on it first, you see, and then it can be voted on after. Let's see here.
As of August 2024, the latest significant reparations bill in Congress is H.R. 40, officially titled the Commission to Study and Develop Reparation Proposals for African Americans Act. This bill is aimed at creating a commission to study and develop proposals for reparations for African Americans. Hash key details about H.R. 40. Sponsor. The bill is sponsored by Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, a Democrat from Texas. She has been a longtime advocate for the study of reparations and the creation of a commission to explore this issue. Overview of H.R. 40. Purpose. The bill seeks to establish a commission to study the impact of slavery and discrimination on African Americans and to develop proposals for reparations. Focus. The commission would be tasked with examining the effects of slavery, racial discrimination, and their long-term impacts on African American communities. This bill has been introduced and reintroduced multiple times in Congress over the years. As of the latest updates, it continues to be an important topic in discussions about racial justice and reparations in the United States.
Okay. How many representatives from each party, each political party, are actively working on the reparations bill as of 2024?
As of August 2024, the H.R. 40 bill, officially known as the Commission to Study and Develop Reparation Proposals for African Americans Act, continues to have significant support in Congress, but specific numbers for actively working representatives can vary with ongoing legislative changes. Current status of H.R. 40. Primary sponsor, Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, DTX, a longtime advocate for the bill. Key co-sponsors and support. Democrats. A majority of the co-sponsors are from the Democratic Party. The bill typically garners substantial support from Democrats, reflecting their broader commitment to addressing racial justice issues. Republicans. The bill has had fewer Republican co-sponsors, with generally limited bipartisan support. However, there may be individual Republican members who support the bill or its objectives. Detailed breakdown. To get the most up-to-date information on how many representatives from each party are actively supporting or working on the bill, you can check the latest congressional records or the bill's page on the official congress.gov/website.
All right.
The
So
website provides current information about sponsors, co-sponsors, and legislative activity related to the bill.
So we heard that the majority of co-sponsors, that means the people that are actively working to write the bill so that it can be voted on, right? Which requires negotiation. It requires research. It requires a lot of work, actually. It requires a lot of details. And so it says here that the majority co-sponsors are Democrats, essentially. So, but hey, let's see how that works out. Now, let's go back to the brother here.
Three first judges, and that's representatives dearly. You vote in the couch. You've basically voted in the couch. You've basically have undermined any chance of getting the thing that you say matters most to you, and that's reparations. Because when you voted the couch in 2016, black man, you allowed Donald Trump, this pimp wannabe, to put right-wing racist judges on the federal bench where reparation cases would go in the first place. And ultimately, you allowed him to put 3 right-wing conservative justices on SCOTUS. And any kind of reparations bill, affirmative action, DEI, or anything else, those 6 conservatives up there will strike it down. So when you're supposed to be so interested in reparations, you undermined reparations when you did not show up and you voted the couch in 2016.
All right, let me see here. Now, let me see here, black man. We got to be realistic. How we going to get reparations with all the money the U.S. owe the World Bank and the interest from borrowing going up by the day? Okay, let's put this up for my brother here. And again, we're going back to black men spreading misconceptions and similar misconceptions that MAGA is spreading about basic things. All right, so let's just clear this up real quick.
As of 2024, the United States does not have a debt obligation to the World Bank in the traditional sense of owing a loan. Instead, the relationship involves U.S. contributions and financial commitments to the World Bank's operations and funding mechanisms. Key points about U.S. financial relationship with the World Bank. 1. Capital contributions. The U.S. is a major shareholder in the World Bank, contributing to its capital base. This involves subscriptions to the bank's capital stock. The U.S. has a significant share, making it one of the largest contributors. 2. Funding commitments. The U.S. provides funds to various World Bank initiatives and programs, which can be through specific appropriations by Congress. These funds support global development projects and initiatives. 3. International Development Association, IDA. The U.S. contributes to the IDA, which is the concessional arm of the World Bank that provides low-interest loans and grants to the world's poorest countries. U.S. contributions are often subject to periodic replenishments approved by Congress. 4. World Bank financing. The World Bank issues bonds and raises funds in international capital markets to finance its operations. The U.S. does not directly owe money in this context, but it plays a crucial role as a major shareholder and contributor. The financial relationship between the U.S. and the World Bank is more about contributions and capital participation rather than traditional debt. For specific figures on U.S. contributions and capital subscriptions, the World Bank's official reports and financial statements provide detailed information.
Okay, so you can see there's a little misconception you have in there about the World Bank relationship with the U.S., but let me go back and put this up here again.
Stop letting Trump pimp you. That's what you're doing. You're letting him pimp you. Because crack is destroying our community. You're just getting that talking point from the GOP via pro-black imposters who have told you to vote the couch, and that has cost us dearly. You voting the couch. You've basically voted the couch. You've basically have undermined any chance of getting the thing that you say matters most to you, and that's reparations. Because when you voted the couch in 2016, black man, you allowed Donald Trump, this pimp wannabe, to put right-wing racist judges on the federal bench where reparation cases would go in the first place. And ultimately, you allowed him to put 3 right-wing conservative justices on SCOTUS. And any kind of reparations bill, affirmative action, DEI, or anything else, those 6 conservatives up there will strike it down. So when you're supposed to be so interested in reparations, you undermined reparations when you did not show up and you voted the couch in 2016. Stop letting Trump pimp you. That's what you're doing. You're letting him pimp you. When he lies and says he's done more for the African-American community. Some of you all out here saying you voted for the man because he gave you an $800 check. What is that but pimping? That's pimping. You're getting played. You're getting pimped. Yeah, let's be real about it. Let's be straight up about it. When you cast a vote for that man or do anything to help him get back into office so he can do all this anti-black stuff to you because of a freaking check, you're getting played. You're getting pimped. Well, you know what? There's some of us out here who refused to get pimped. At least if we're going to get pimp, it's going to cost more than $800. So if you say that Joe Biden has pimped us, at least we got billions in HBCU money. We got student loan forgiveness. We got the lowest unemployment in history. We got many other initiatives that will be a blessing to the black community for years unless Trump gets reelected and he turns it all back. But in the words of Kamala Harris, we won't go back. And we won't be pimped. I'm attorney Augustus Corbett, one half of the Defiant Lawyers. This is the content that we bring you on a weekly basis. Until the next time, peace.
If you're ignoring AI, you can be making a grave mistake that will haunt you for the rest of your life.
If I just ruled the world,